Today we are going to be talking about the use of capital punishment, also known as the death penalty, on criminals. Capital punishment is the legally authorized killing of someone as a punishment for a crime. Today I'm going to share with you some reasons as to why capital punishment should be legal in all states. I've spent a fair amount of my time these past few days reading studies, investigations, and articles on capital punishment so that I can be sure to present the correct information. As capital punishment is so heavily debated, it is important to be well informed on the topic before forming your opinion. I will be explaining why capital punishment serves as a fair punishment for criminals who have committed heinous crimes. The death penalty has been practiced in the United States for almost 400 years. The first documented execution of a criminal in the American colonies happened in Virginia in 1622. During most of the 20th century, the majority of the United States permitted execution of convicted criminals. The death penalty dates all the way back to early English law, where any person convicted of a felony offense had a mandatory death sentence. During most of U.S. history, capital punishment was used for more than just a punishment for murder, to include arson, burglary, armed robbery, rape, kidnapping, and possession of certain firearms connected with crimes of violence. The history of capital punishment in the U.S. revolved almost completely around the criminal justice system of each state instead of the federal system. That means that each state gets to choose whether or not they want to use the death penalty as a form of punishment. The death penalty also stops criminals from committing crimes over and over again. If a prisoner gets out on probation, he or she could go commit the same crime again. The death penalty serves as a deserved punishment for horrific crimes, and it also deters crimes. In the early 1980s, the return of the death penalty resulted in a drop of the number of murders. In the mid to late 1980s, when the number of executions stabilized at about 20 per year, the number of murders went back up. Through the 90s, society has increased the number of executions, and the number of murders went down. Since 2001, there has not been as many executions, and the number of murders has gone up. The death penalty also prevents prisoners from having to live their lives out in prison cells. Research has shown that even small periods of time in solitary confinement can change brain chemistry and produce psychiatric symptoms ranging from extreme depression to active psychosis. Some prisoners that have spent long times in isolation say that it degrades their humanity and sanity. For example, they pace their cell continuously, smear feces all over their cells, harm themselves, etc. In all, capital punishment has an extended amount of advantages and should remain a legal way of punishment. I hope the information presented today has helped you to come to understand that capital punishment is a fair way to punish criminals. Again, all of the data I used when formulating this presentation came from a reliable source. I encourage you all to consider what you have heard today and to question where you stand on capital punishment. Perhaps it is hard to decide whether you are for capital punishment or against it, but I encourage you to look farther into the information.